Hey YouTube, I'm April Love. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining. I hope that you would be so kind to hit the subscribe button and that you would like the channel so that the channel can grow. And I want to come to you today to express gratitude in my heart and to share with you what this special day today, December 16th, is and what it means to me. And then to hopefully give you something to take from this video for yourself and for your parents, your husbands, your wives, and even your boss. So this video is near and dear to my heart because today, December 16th, 3 years ago in 2019, my dad passed away. And yes, it was very sad. It was very hard. And I'm talking about today, this morning for me, just because when you lose a parent, especially one that you were very close to or close with, it can be hard. It can be devastating, right? But I have gratitude in my heart and I'm thankful to God because I've always been a daddy's girl. I've always been close to my dad. My dad actually raised me. So I moved with my father when I was in, I believe, the 5th grade. And I lived with my father and my stepmother until I graduated high school. So my dad has always been in my life. This isn't some relationship that was on and off. He's always been a great father and I love my father. And to say that when my dad fell ill, I decided that I was going to honor my father and take care of him the same way he honored me and took care of me and my younger sister when we were young. And so when I found out that my dad was sick with the liver cancer, I said, okay, well, I'm just going to take care of him, not knowing that liver cancer, you deteriorate really, really quick. So I started doing my research on liver cancer. I said, you know what? It's time for me to go get my dad because this was like around February. He was living in his own apartment, but he was not answering the phone. He was not taking his medicine. He was not doing what I felt like he needed to do to live. And so I was driving from my house to his apartment almost daily, if not daily, every other day, because he would not answer the phone. And so I don't know if you know about cancer, but when you have cancer, it makes you really tired. And he just kept sleeping. He was not eating. And so long story short, I went to his house and I packed him up, me and my younger sister, and I moved him into my house. And I wanted him to be comfortable because after doing my research, I knew how serious liver cancer was. So I packed him up, moved him to my house, and I allowed him to bring all his stuff. I actually threw away my furniture and some things that I had so that he can bring his things. He had a fish tank because all my life we've had fish. He's always had fish and a big, big fish tank. So we kept his fish tank, his furniture. We got rid of some things, but majority of his things I allow him to bring. So I gave up my master bedroom with the bathroom in it so that he can be comfortable. And this is all a part of honoring your parents, which is what this video is about. So I moved him in comfortably and now he's living with me and I'm his caretaker and I'm caring for him daily. And I am self-employed, so I thank God that he allowed me to quit my job 2 years prior, not knowing that in 2019 that I was going to need to be an entrepreneur to fully care for my father the way that I was able to. Just a quick backstory. His parents died when he was 17. So he had no one. So I took care of my father for the whole year of 2019, taking him back and forth to his treatments at the hospital and his doctor's appointments and just making sure that he was good, fixing him breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Early on, he was still driving, so he would just, do his own thing sometimes. But it came to a time where now he was kind of losing his mind a little bit, where he was very forgetful. And then he had a bad car accident that he crashed his truck. He left something on his stove where he was burning something. And one day he left out and left the stove on and drove far away, and the stove was just on. And at this point in time, I was like, okay, something has to change. I have to take some things from him in order to keep him safe. And it was very hard because he's very independent. His parents died when he was 17, so he had to raise himself after that. And so if you can imagine taking something like those things away, a car and his ability to do things that he normally would do on his own, taking those things away was difficult. However, for his safety, it was necessary. And I had a vehicle at the time, so you can just ride around or tell me where you want to go and I'll take you, no problem at all. So speed up to October of 2019, which is his birthday month. He was in a hospital on his birthday, so we did not celebrate the way we normally would celebrate. However, when he came home, we had a really big celebration for him. A lot of friends and family came to the house, and it was just packed. It was nowhere to park, nowhere to sit. It was a lot of people there. And this was beautiful because around this time, he was put on hospice. So in October, he was put on hospice, and we allowed him to have family to come over and to just love up on him for the duration of his life, which was beautiful. Nice turnout. So speed up to November, December. November was Thanksgiving. We had a very great Thanksgiving with family and friends. And then December. Now, I didn't give you this backstory, but we were waiting to go on my 40th birthday cruise in December of 2019. And I'm so grateful that God knows best. He knows what we need when we need it. And one thing I love about God is that he will honor our requests. If it's in his will, he'll honor us, right? And that's why we're to honor him first. My dad wanted to go on this cruise so bad that it's almost like that's what he was living for. So I had planned this cruise a year before, December of 2019, and he was excited to go. And it was a whole bunch of us going. So December rolls around and he's deteriorating, but it's like really slow. But you can see that he's going downhill. And with liver cancer, it deteriorates fast. You go downhill really fast. So November 28th, I believe it was, we left to go to Orlando to get ready to go on the cruise. We stayed in Orlando in one of the timeshare places for 2 days. And so we stayed in Orlando. I had put him in his wheelchair. We took a flight. Everything was smooth getting him there. So the most precious and beautiful thing that I can remember during this time was the fact that he was so excited to go on this cruise, and that, he probably knew in his mind that it was coming to an end. His life was coming to an end, and he just wanted to live his best days, his best life for the rest of the days. So we spend the days in Orlando. We're having a ball. We're having a good time. We're eating. We're playing cards. We're doing, fun things. And December 1st rolls around, or maybe the November 30th, we get on the cruise ship. Now, I'm like, I don't know how we're going to work this out with this wheelchair on this cruise ship. And then it dawned on me, oh yeah, they sell scooters. So we get on the cruise ship, and my dad gets on this scooter, and now he's able to drive himself around because he could still walk, but he was very weak and he walked very slow. So we knew that the scooter would be the best thing for him. So we get on the cruise ship, and he has his scooter. And the first day, maybe second day, I was going to his room to tell him, come on, Dad, we're going to dinner, or come on, Dad, we're going to do this. And, he would get on his scooter, and then I had to make sure that it was charged. I still was going to make sure that I give him his medicine in the mornings. So I was still doing my duties that I was doing at home on the cruise ship. But by day 2, oh, he was on that scooter and gone before I can even come to the room. So I'm so grateful, and I can smile today because I have such beautiful memories of my father, especially the last days of his life. And to be his caretaker, I saw him go from, 100 to 0 the whole journey, the whole way through his battle with liver cancer. I was with him at every appointment. So I watched him. I didn't have time to grieve. I didn't have time to be sad because I wanted to make sure that he was okay, to make sure that he was living, his best days for his last days. So on the cruise ship, I didn't see him much after the second day because he was literally just doing his own thing. So then I found out that his favorite place was the casino. So my dad spent a lot of time in the casino. He was getting his lunch and his dinner and everything by himself. So I just kind of like let go at that point. I just like let my hands off of him because, he was doing his own thing and he was doing okay. So I would see him obviously at dinner time and sometimes for breakfast and things like that. And so we enjoyed the cruise ship. When we got off the cruise ship to the first excursion, it was the four-wheelers, and it was like a hiking trip. We jumped off of different, jumped into caves or into water from off of cliffs. He obviously couldn't do that, but what he could do was he was able to ride the four-wheelers, and then he just laid back when we did the hiking and the water activities. And when that all was done, I asked him how he was feeling. He was fine. He was ready to continue on. So we got back on the ship and was back on sea, and then he still was enjoying himself on the casino. So the night of the captain's dinner, which was my actual birthday night on December 4th, we dressed up, and it was really, really nice. He had his suit on. He was able to take pictures with me. So my 40th birthday was one of my best birthdays, one of my favorite birthdays. And, it was sad that my dad was not himself, but he was himself because he was living his best life during the duration of this cruise. And to be able to get those last pictures with him meant a lot to me. And when we got off the cruise ship, and I'm speeding up a little bit for the sake of time, and we got off the cruise ship and was headed back to the flight to come back to DC, come back home, you can see the joy on his face, and he was happy that he enjoyed his time on this cruise ship. So that's why today I can smile and be happy and grateful that God allowed him to live, to see his last days of fun and to have a good time on this cruise ship, and that he was able to spend it with me. So I'm grateful and I'm thankful that, he lived those last days. He lived. And when we got back home and off the cruise ship, we landed, I think, back in December 5th or 6th, December 6th. And 10 days later, he passed, December 16th. And it was very hard because he passed at home, which was one of his wishes that I honored. He did not want to go to the hospital. He wanted to do his hospice at home. And so that's what we did. And I made sure that he was comfortable. I tried to feed him still. And towards those last 2 weeks, he declined where he didn't want to eat. He used to like these coconut bar ice creams, and I would feed that to him. He didn't even want those. He didn't drink too much, and I couldn't get him up to bathe him. It was just very hard those last days, watching him just lay and sleep. But the glory be to God, because God knows best. My dad was definitely tired. The chemo was not working anymore. So that is the cruise and the days before my father's passing. But what I want to talk to you all about today is honoring your parents. And I know sometimes it can be difficult to honor your parents when you may not have had the best parents. Now, my situation is a little different from some people because I've had both my parents in my life. I was raised by both of my parents until they split, but I still was going back and forth on the weekends to see my mom when I was living with my dad. And up until 2016, I saw my dad all the time. And it's so important that we honor our parents because, for one, it's in the Bible where it says in Exodus 20:12, honor your father and your mother so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. I think that is so important because if we don't honor God first, then how can we honor parents or bosses or employers or anyone else? So first we need to honor God. And then once we honor God, he teaches us how to honor our parents. So the command to honor your parents, because it's in the Bible as a command, may seem easy to some. Like for me, it was easy to honor my parents because I didn't have bad parents. Even though my parents are flawed, they raised me and they were in my life. So I would say that I had great parents. So some people think, I can't honor my parents because they were not good to me. They were bad to me, or whatever the case may be. Try to forgive your parents. Try to forgive them for any offenses because God is looking at how we are with our parents, right? And like I said, it's a command where he says to honor your parents. And the question is all parents deserving of honor? Probably not. But it's still our duty to honor our parents because it's a command that God gave us, right? So I think it's vital and it's important that you honor your parents. And I truly believe that when you honor your parents, your days will be long. I also believe that God is a rewarder of those who do right by people. And I feel like I've been tremendously blessed because my dad was not the first person that I cared for. My grandmother, my maternal grandmother, was old and she had Alzheimer's or dementia. And I was actually pregnant with my son while I was caring for her. She lived with me. And it was very hard because, people with dementia, they do all kinds of things. They accuse you. And I was able to take care of my grandmother for a long time. And, it was hard, but I did it because I honored my grandmother, just like I honored my father. And I just want to say this one thing, that even if you can't have a relationship with your parents, you can choose to obey them and honor them by your heart. So you don't necessarily have to go to their house every day. You don't necessarily have to talk to them on the phone every day. But you can honor your parents by having a great heart posture towards your parents. So for an example, if you have a parent that's a narcissist, they're hard to get along with. They do get things like gaslight you and cause confusion and all type of things. So it's hard to be around those type of people. But you know how the saying goes, you can love people from a distance. God honors that because he's looking at your heart, where you may be trying to have a relationship with your parents. You may be trying to have, a sense of peace or a relationship with that parent, but the parent is not willing. So God doesn't expect us to be in toxic environments and to deal with people, head on, knowing the type of people they are. But what he does expect is for us to have the right heart posture towards those people. Meaning, because you have a narcissistic parent, you don't want to be bothered with them, but you don't have to be nasty to them, right? You can still be kind and treat them, the way God would treat them. So I always look at things like, how would Jesus treat them? Like you might even have a neighbor that is just obnoxious. And I'm gonna be real with y'all, and I'm gonna be honest. I have that situation right now. I have neighbors that move from above me to below me, and they're obnoxious, but I still have to love them, because that's a command as well, is to love your neighbors as you love yourself. So sometimes it's hard in passing when I see them to even open my mouth, but I do it because I know that God sees the heart and he knows, what we're up to. So you don't have to necessarily deal with the person, or you don't have to be hanging with them. And one thing I learned when I was in therapy, my therapist said, family is blood, right? But family doesn't make you related. Or family, how does the saying go? How does she say it? Family, you're related to family by blood, but like you can take on a whole nother family that's not necessarily your blood, and they treat you better than your family does. So you don't necessarily have to sit in an environment or a toxic environment or situation. You can still love these people for who they are and as family. So I just want to say that if you don't have a relationship with your parents, time and life is short. I miss my father. I miss being able to pick up the phone and call him and say, Dad, what you think about this? Or, I always got his opinion. And my dad was one of my biggest supporters. When I graduated from undergrad, he was there. When I graduated from grad school, he was there. Everything that I've gone through in my life, he was supportive of me. And I'll share this testimony at a later date, but I was even incarcerated. I did fed time. And for those 2 years, guess who took care of my daughter? My father. So I love my father. Like, my father was one of my biggest supporters, and my father meant a lot to me. But I'm just so grateful to be able to share this story with you all, and hope that it lights a spark in you to make a connection with your parents if you're able to. Again, I'm not promoting anyone to get in contact with parents that are toxic, or that, you just know that you can't do it. At least love them in your heart. Love them in your heart and pray for them. God can change people, and we try to do things in our own strength where we're trying to change them, but prayer works. And I truly believe that if you pray for your parents or pray for people, that if they want change too, that God is able to change them. And so I hope that this blessed you. I thank you for listening to me share this story. And I just give glory to God because he is faithful. And I hope that you all have a blessed day. God loves you, and so do I. Take care and be safe. Shalom.